Well, hello and welcome to another video. And it's became apparent to me after I did my first video saying why is my bike better than any bike in the World Tour in 2026, that there were things that I forgot. Now, all my videos I do in one take for the simple reason is I just can't be bothered to sit there editing it down, you know. I don't make any money, it's not a job. I don't get anything from it at all, so I'm not going to go to that much effort. So in my shed at home, two of my bikes behind me there, my best bike, my summer bike, my Lightspeed. I've got a Kinesis behind there, aluminium, which is like my winter bike, which was the subject of one of my other videos about trying to repair the tyres. And I've got a gravel bike, which I'm going out on this afternoon, which isn't hanging up. So things that I forgot. I went into my local bike shop last year, and they have got basically, actually this year, they have got Pogacar's bike hanging up. Not his actual bike, but it's the Y1 RS, right? So you're looking at best part of 16,000 quid. First thing I did was span the front wheel around like that, right? These are Campagnolo 45mm ceramic bearings, okay? As you can see, that's going round totally unimpeded, right? Now in the bike shop, when I span it round, the pads were catching, right? Only very slightly, but you could hear like the tink as it went round. 16,000 quid bike, pads were catching, right? Look at this. Look how long that's been rolling for, and all I've done is touched it, right? Bearing in mind, we as average people need every watt because we don't produce that many, right? So that's another reason why this bike's better than any World Tour bike. Then you come on to the brakes themselves. Even if for whatever reason that was catching, you can literally move the whole thing with your hand so it isn't, and I've done that on occasion, right? Another huge bonus. Exterior cables, okay, they don't look as fancy, but far easier to service. Then we come back to other portions of the bike, right? I've got a mixture of Dura Ace and Ultegra 11-speed mechanical, right? Now another thing, people say, oh, it's got to be Di2 now, you've got to have that. I used to have 12-speed Di2 rim brake version on this bike when I first got it, right? I was seduced by the hype, and it let me down in the worst possible place. I was on a cycling holiday on my own in Tenerife, and my gears stopped working, right? I mean, you couldn't be anywhere worse not to have a selection of gears in Tenerife. You're either going up a mountain or coming down, right? I still managed to get through the holiday just about, but it ruined it really. And I came back and the bike was off the road the whole winter because they were sorting out the rear derailleur on warranty, right? Got another rear derailleur back. I thought, you know, maybe I've just been unlucky. About 8 months later, just stopped working again, right? All sorts of problems where the shifters were there and then they weren't. The app was there, then it wasn't. And I just thought, well, what the hell do I need this for, right? And I bought the whole bike, you can see, as part of a settlement in a court case because a taxi driver ploughed through me when I was riding my bike in 2022. So it wasn't my money as such that I was spending, which is why I went Di2. So I whipped the Di2 off and went back to old school mechanical. And I wish I'd had Dura Ace 11-speed throughout when I first bought the bike, but that was it. So, but this bike is serviceable anywhere, right? So if I was in Majorca, Tenerife, Spain, you name it, if there's a problem, I can take it into a bike shop. They can adjust the cable, put a new cable in. Unless it's something catastrophic, this bike's going to be back on the road. And that's that, right? With Di2, if it goes wrong, you're screwed. You're just screwed. That's it. You know, good night. And that's another reason why this bike is better. And I just think that it looks better. You know, let me flip this around. It's probably not the ideal filming environment to show it off, right? But I just think that the traditional lines of a bike, and that wheel is still spinning, by the way, right? So, I mean, it speaks for itself, doesn't it? But I just think the traditional lines are a lot better, than all this aero stuff that people have got now. And you just don't need all that aero stuff because, like I said, it doesn't kick in until you're going so fast that we don't ride that speed, So, there's probably lots of other things I could say about it. And I am emotionally attached to it because I had a titanium Lightspeed before for many years, which this has replaced when that Lightspeed got taken out in the accident. But for me, I mean, I know that I'm a dinosaur, right? And I know that rim brakes are becoming obsolete and they're probably going to stop making them altogether, which I think is a terrible shame, right? Because you should always have a choice. But that bike is as good as anything you get on the road, and it comes with far fewer problems than all of the fancy modern bikes, and this is a modern bike, it's not like it's a pile of junk, but I would rather have this than the World Tour bikes, and for people like us who ride sensibly, ride normally, ride in a human fashion, you don't need all the stuff that they're putting into the World Tour now, right? And I just think that they should bring back the option across all bike manufacturers, group sets at least, SRAM, Campagnolo, Shimano. You should have mechanical options at every level because people would buy them. And they should. I think Shimano should do a rim brake Dura Ace as well. They might not sell many, but they could afford to do it. But either way, I think that this, and the wheel's still spinning, so that speaks for itself. But I would rather have that bike than any World Tour bike any day. Because for people like us in the real world, you want something that works, that's sensible and reliable, and a lot of these modern bikes just aren't.